Yeah. Okay. So thank you. It's like Diwali season. There's a Diwali party in our office, which is just going to start. You can see I'm wearing my traditional kurta. So if there's a little bit of a noise in the background, please excuse, please adjust, as they say. So the session is scheduled for an hour. Let's try if we can stick within that. And I would like to personally try to finish off my session in 30 to 45 minutes. So Yash Kadake on the call. He's the founder of a company called Security Brigade, which offers a platform called Shadow Map, which he'll be talking about. And he'll be. I've requested him to join. He's kindly joined the call. So questions at the end. So let's start off by with a little bit introduction about myself first. So this is me, and there I'm wearing a formal jacket, whereas here now I'm wearing a kurta, but whatever. So I've been in the security business for a long time, since 1991 to be precise. So that's like 35 years. It's a long time. And I have launched products like Solomon's and Sonic Wall, Barracuda in India. And I had my own company at that time. In 2008, my company got acquired. And then from 2008 till now, 2020, 17 years, I've been working in various large system integrators. And in 2022, I've written a book called Cybersecurity Demystified. It was quite a bestseller and it sold more than 1,000 plus copies, 2,000 copies. And now it's in the second edition. And the second edition is also available on Amazon and it's selling. I mean, I put it up on Amazon and people keep buying it. I don't know who's buying it, but they buy it and Amazon ships it. So it's doing pretty well. And it gives a good overview introduction to cybersecurity. So that was a little bit of a background about me, who I am. And right now I'm at Noventiq and I'm the cybersecurity advisor for cybersecurity here and also looking after the Microsoft security practice. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk. Chetan, my voice is audible, right? Everything is clear, right?
Yeah, clear, but it's breaking in the middle. I think you got a good network. Please check once.
I'm sitting in the office here. I'm sitting in the
Okay.
office.
Then that should
Okay,
do. Yeah.
so I'll talk a little slowly, perhaps. So today's session will be covering. If anytime my voice is cracking too much, just tell me, Chetan, so I'll repeat myself. Okay. So today we'll talk about, first of all, very briefly for 2 minutes, why security beyond the perimeter. The second part is, okay, if you have to do security beyond the perimeter, what do you need to do? And the third and the last part is the practical part. Okay, how can we help you to do it? How we at Noventiq can help you to do it with the help of the Shadow Map platform. Okay, so the why, of course, is we always have to start with the why, because very often people get into the what and the how, and, without getting why. So the why is the most important thing. Why? Earlier, there was a small self-contained world, and people were having their computers and their systems in their office, at the most in the data center, and in the computer room, and then they had to protect that. They put antivirus in the endpoint, they put firewalls around. So that's it. They're secure. They're secured their little house, their little castle. But now what has happened is the world has gone beyond that. So there is now the cloud, there is the internet, there is the deep web, there is the dark web. There's a lot of threats over there. And all these threats are directly or indirectly affecting your company. So you can take a simple analogy. If you have a house, if you have a house, a flat in a building, it's good to, obviously put the locks in the doors and put a CCTV camera and put a fire alarm and all those things in your house. But you have to have
I bet your voice is stuck.
some
Hello.
You are not
There seems to be
audible.
a problem. Yeah.
okay. I'll do one. I'll just connections. When hotspot tethering. Okay. Am I audible now, Chetan?
Yeah, you're audible. Sir, you can turn off your camera. Maybe that would help. Internet.
Okay, I'll do that. Let's turn off the camera. 1 second. Turn off the camera. Turn off the camera. 1 second. Camera. Okay, camera is turned off. Give me a minute. Okay, fine. So is it okay now? Is it audible? Is the screen visible also?
Yes.
And I hope the connection is slightly better. I've gone on to Geo now. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. Right. So earlier, like I said, it was sufficient to secure your house, secure your own house, secure your own company, secure your own office. But now, with the way things are going, you need to know what's happening outside. You need to have an idea about the threats that are out there, so that you can take adequate precaution and you can be protected against that. And if you look at the overall trends of the last few years, you will find that the cost of the attack is going up. And what's more, there are 2 or 3 particular type of attacks that are, becoming more prevalent. So let me just go into slideshow mode. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there are few kinds of attacks which have become very prevalent. So the first one is this ransomware as a service. Everybody knows that ransomware is a problem, but now it's being offered as a service. So earlier, if you wanted to mount a ransomware attack, you'd have to actually have the skill set to write this kind of a malware, write a virus which would go spread, encrypt people's data, and they send the data out and then ask for the ransom and correct the money in Bitcoin. And the whole thing had to be written by you. But now it's actually available as a service. There are skilled people who actually have put up a supermarket, and you can actually go and subscribe to a ransomware, choose the kind of ransomware you want, choose what it needs to do, what kind of files it has to target, and how it has to work. And you can literally, as a service, you can go for it, and you can, even a person who has little or no programming knowledge can actually start doing ransomware. And there is all kinds of things happening. You heard about this group called Scattered Spider, and there's so many people who are attacking so many companies. And it's not just the high-tech people anymore who are doing it. It's even the low-tech people. Brand impersonation. People are misusing the brand. They are making fake websites. This is happening all the time. So recently I was with a company, they got fooled by a mail coming from outside, which is actually not from their company. It was from somebody else, a hacker, and it was the domain was deceptively similar. And the guy was tracking what's going on in the company. He had hacked inside. He was monitoring the communications. I mean, when he came to the CEO had gone to Venezuela, he sent a mail saying, "Look, I'm doing a merger and acquisition, and I need to send an advance of $500,000, etc., to seal the deal. And don't tell anybody, and do it right now. It's highly confidential, and do it in the next half an hour and give it to me." And then the money was gone. And it's quite crazy, but and then once it's gone, next to impossible to get it back. So, but the point is that the simple method or technique of checking for domains which are being registered, which are similar to your domain. And if such a domain has been registered which is similar to yours, you're getting an alert about it. And you can either have it taken down, or even if you can't have it taken down, you can even block it on your firewall, on your emails, so that a mail from this domain can't come. So even if a hacker has actually taken this domain with the idea of doing phishing, he is blocked from entering your company. But unless you know such kind of a domain is registered, how would you do such a thing? But this is a problem, this impersonation thing. And there are other aspects to it also I will cover. And the third trend is supply chain. So what's happening here is that large companies are secure, but smaller companies who are supplying solutions to these larger companies, they might not be so secure. They won't have such big IT teams. They won't have security budgets. They're not so well knowledgeable. So they get hacked. And if these companies have access to the network, to the data of the larger company gets impacted. So it's not enough just to, secure your own company. You need to have a little bit knowledge about the security posture of your supply chain also. So these are some of the trends. And if you see the actual attacks that have happened in the last year or two, and you can see all this here, and I don't want to go into the details, but basically, if you see on the top in red, these are four of the most common reasons why the attacks have happened. First of all, unknown assets, that the company has assets it didn't know about. So it didn't know about them, it couldn't secure them, and then they got compromised. And then that was the entry point. Weak vendor security. So that, like I said, the vendor is not secure and the supplier is not secure. And because of that, the company gets hacked through that supplier. The third thing is misconfigurations. So nowadays, what's happening on the cloud, it's not like vulnerabilities and things, it's more of misconfig. If you have an S3 bucket which is not properly configured, data gets exposed. And the last thing is compromised credentials. So here what happens is that your credentials have got leaked onto the internet. And then, that's a problem because then a hacker has got those credentials and he has got valid credentials. So now a hacker no longer needs to hack into your network. He can log into your network. And once he's logged in, he gets inside, he escalates privileges. So these are the most common vectors by which attacks are happening. And these are all happening from outside your company. So you need to secure against all this. And it's very much possible to do, as we'll cover. Okay. So it's like I said, it's not like if an attack will happen, but when it happens. So how can you prevent it and how can you respond to it? So now let's get into the details. So that's the why you need to do it. Yeah. Because it's a problem. It is being exploited. And it's preventable. It's like you have a vaccine for a COVID virus, so you can prevent it. So then why do you fall prey to it? Prevent it. So you need to secure beyond the perimeter. But the first thing is you need to know what the perimeter itself is. So you basically have to have a complete inventory of your assets. So your domains, your subdomains, your IP addresses. And if a lot of companies are doing mergers and acquisitions these days, so their subsidiary companies have got their networks. You're on the cloud, you may have separate people are spinning up instances. No longer it's all under the control of the IT team. So you have web apps, you have mobile apps, APIs are a big issue nowadays. You may have IoT devices, you have code up there outside. So all of these need to be secure. So, and the key thing is you can't protect what you don't know. So unless you know what you have, you can't protect it. So the first step is to know your assets, know your inventory, and that's something which we can help you with. There's two parts. There is your internal inventory, which of course we can't help you with, that you need to do. But whatever is exposed from outside, we'll be able to help you to identify it. So that is the first part. So the first thing is you have to know what are your assets and what is the inventory. So this is the landscape I have. This is what needs protection. So that is what you need to. That's a starting point. Once you've gone there, the next thing is to look at the attack surface. Now, if this is your inventory, out of this inventory, what is exposed to the internet? And the first question is, does this thing need to be exposed at all? So, very often we have found, staging systems, test systems, internal systems, these are all exposed to the internet. A firewall control panel, firewall admin panel, or some other application admin panel, which is exposed on the internet. Now, why should a firewall control panel be exposed to the internet? If somebody wants to configure a firewall, he has to be in the office or he has to be on a VPN. So there's no reason for it to be publicly available. Because the moment you keep it publicly available, people have access to it. They're going to try to hack it. They're going to find vulnerabilities in it, whatever. So the first idea is we have to try to reduce the attack surface. So once we know what the exposure is, we can go through the exposure and say, okay, these systems which are actually online and available online, they don't need to be. So let's take them off. So that reduces the attack surface. Once you've reduced the attack surface, the next step, okay, is it protected? So now it has to be exposed, but is it protected? So if there are systems, they should be behind a firewall. If there are applications, they should be behind a WAF. Very often we found, there is a particular server is supposed to be accessed through a WAF because an application is hosted on it. But often there is another route to get to that server. And if you use that route to get to the server, that server is directly accessible on the internet. And there is no WAF, there is no security, there's no DDoS, nothing. So this is a very, very common exposure, which is easy to identify, that if you find some servers which are supposed to be behind a WAF, but are not, And then if you have different systems, you're supposed to do VAPT before they go live. So at least if you know these are just applications which are live, you can check if they've got VAPT, if the configs are hardened. So, and also very often, what happens is a hacker comes and defaces your website. You don't even know about it, or there are malware injected into your website. Uh, all these things, is very embarrassing if somebody else comes and tells you, hey, your website is hacked. So it's better we ourselves monitor it and, tell we take the corrective action. And orphan DNS entries are another issue. So, a DNS entry is pointing to a particular server and then the server is taken off, but that DNS entry is still there. It's just pointing out there to a particular IP. And hackers tend to, go through these IPs and find out which ones are being orphaned in this way and attach a server to that. And then the DNS entry is pointing to that server and then they take advantage of it. So, and the last point is, what are the new exposures? Which means like you take a point in time snapshot, but it's dynamic. Today, this is your inventory. Tomorrow, there may be something new. So you need to be aware of what are the additions to your inventory. And then when there are additions to the inventory, there are additional vulnerabilities. So all this needs to be taken care of. So that is the first part. You need to find out what is your inventory, and you need to find out what are the vulnerabilities vulnerabilities or exposures in the inventory, which is apparent from the record. I'm not saying that you should do a VA or a vulnerability scan or run a scanner or any intrusive tool, but just from outside, what is visible, it's like, you call somebody and he's walking around your house and he says, hey, this door is open, this window is, this door lock is broken, this window is ajar, these lights have gone off. So this back gate is open. So stuff like that, which is visible from the outside without doing anything, intrusive. That's what we can find out and we can let you know. So that is the first part, the shadow IT asset inventory and the attack surface. The second thing which is happening outside the perimeter, which we need to know, is public data leaks. So very often it could happen that your code or your data or your credentials or your documents, all of these could be actually up there in the internet. Somebody has put it for some temporary reason, maybe in a paste site, for example, or there's a S3 bucket where data has been put up and, it wasn't properly configured. So all this data is up there and, it's inadvertently up there and somebody may download it and misuse it. So you need to be able to monitor this. And the moment there is some data out there, which is out there on the internet, which is belonging to you, which is not supposed to be there, you need to be notified. And then if you're notified, then you can take the necessary corrective action. But the key thing is you need to know. So you need to proactively know before somebody else tells you that, hey, there's a problem. You need to be able to identify it and take it down. So this is another aspect of security beyond the perimeter. The first is what is attackable from outside. The second is any of your data leaked out? The third aspect beyond the perimeter is the dark web. So, this is a separate world altogether. And there are too many things to talk about here, but I will just focus on one point, which is the stealer logs. So, what happens, you all might be using the internet and you're using your browsers and various applications. So you come to your office and you may log into your attendance system, you'll be logging into your CRM, you're logging into your Salesforce, or you're logging into some other admin application or some business application. And you don't type in your password and username and password every time, right? Because it's already there in the browser. It automatically pops it up. You just say click, 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 and you go inside. So all your credentials are there in your browser. They're saved there in a particular file. So if a hacker compromises your network, your laptop, he's able to get access to all of this, and he gets access to all your usernames and passwords, and he puts it up for sale on the dark web. And then for $10, literally as little as $10, this thing can be purchased, and somebody can get your credentials and he can log into the network with valid working credentials. And once he's logged in, he's logged in. He hasn't hacked and he's logged in. He's got a valid credential. And then, a hacker will do what he has to do to escalate privileges and stuff like that. So this is a real threat. And we have seen so many companies get compromised by this. So you need to have some way of knowing if any of your company's employees' credentials have been leaked. And if yes, then, you can at least change the password or put 2FA or something like that. But the first step is to know. So that's another area you need to know, which is what's happening beyond the perimeter, the leak credentials. The next point I want to talk about is brand misuse. So there are two basic issues here. The first is, like I said, these phishing sites. These sites have been set up, and the whole idea is to send social phishing mails or social engineering mails through this website. If your company is Noventiq.com, it might be called NoventLIQ.com instead of IQ, or NoventLQ, or something similar to that. A domain is registered which is very similar looking, deceptively similar to your domain, and then a mail is sent out from there, and it fools people that it's come from the original source. So you need to be able to identify the moment such kind of a domain is set up. You need to be able to identify it and then block it on your system so it can't be used to compromise or attack your systems. And the second is, of course, fake websites. Like supposing your Titan company, you're selling watches. There's a fake website selling fake Titan watches. So you need to know this is, and they put up the logo and everything of the Titan, so it looks like an official website, and they're giving it at cheap prices. So people may buy, and they might either get fake product or they may not get product at all. And the company's name gets bad, company's image gets impacted. So you need to identify the moment all these fake websites are come up, and then there are similar things. There could be a fake mobile application. There could be a fake social media page of your company, which is not really of your company, putting wrong content. So you need to, all this is happening outside your perimeter. The way fake website is being set up outside, the phishing website is being set up outside, the mobile application or the social media presence is outside your perimeter. Your firewall or your antivirus can't find anything about this. So you need some way to identify this. And it's not just enough to identify, you have to take it down. Because what's the point of knowing that something is there? You need to be able to take it down as well. So that is another aspect that needs to be looked after. So that is also something. We spoke about the asset inventory. We spoke about the public data leaks. We spoke about the dark web credentials being lost. And now we spoke about the brand being misused so that, either it's used for phishing or it's used to promote fake products, or a fake mobile application, fake social media account for impersonation purpose. So you need to have some way of monitoring all this and to take it down. Then this is what I spoke about in the beginning, also the third party risk. So if you are having vendors, if you are having service providers, if you're having partners who are either having access to your network or they have access to your data, then you need to know how secure they are. So I'll give you a classic case. There was a large bank in India, and they have a subsidiary which was also kind of giving loans, and they used to give high risk loans. So what happened was that every time somebody comes and applies for a loan, that person's name, his address, his PAN card, his Aadhaar card, his income tax return, everything is available with this company, and they want to do a credit score check. So they send this data to CIBIL and CRISIL and all these credit rating agencies to get a credit check. Should I give this guy a loan or not? But what happens is this bank did not do it directly. They have a service provider, and they give that data to the service provider. The service provider does a check with the agencies and comes back saying, give a loan or don't give a loan, gives a score. So what happens is the service provider has access to each and every person who applies for a loan. His PAN card, his Aadhaar card, his all details are with that service provider. And that service provider got hacked and all this data became public. So that's why it's important to see that if you are dealing with people who are dealing with your data, who have access to your systems, how secure they are. You have to understand who are these people first. You have to assess their security also. And then you have to make sure that if they are, being exposed or they are being compromised, that you need to know so that you can take the necessary action before it impacts you. So this is the part that we can help you with. There's a second part which you have to do, which means you have to put security into your procurement and procurement process and contracts. So you have to say some kind of a thing that if this company, if this company, Mr. X company wants to deal with us, it has to have a certain basic level of security, otherwise we will not deal with them. That's a business decision. So you have to make sure that the business team also comes on board and they say, okay, we will not deal with, or we'll encourage our partners and our service providers to be secure so that it doesn't impact us. And of course, you may have hundreds of vendors, sometimes even thousands of vendors. So you'll have to have some kind of a prioritization and make sure you're doing more careful checks of the critical vendors and a little bit less for the others. But nevertheless, it's something which has to be done. Okay, then we'll come to the part about executive monitoring. So here again, what has happened is that every company has got senior management. So there may be a CIO, CXO, CEO, and sometimes what happens is people put up these people's information on, media forums. Oh, this is the CEO of Uber, or this is the CEO of whatever, Polycab or whatever company you want. Here, if you have a complaint, please contact him. This is his phone number. This is his email ID, whatever. And people don't want that to be published. So if it is published, they could be unnecessarily harassed, and they are their regular work could suffer because people are flooding their phone or their email with these messages. So if such kind of a thing happens, you need to be informed so that you can take it down. And this takedown is possible and it's a service which we do offer. And then, of course, there's also a problem of impersonation, like I mentioned earlier. Somebody may set up a fake website or a fake LinkedIn profile or a fake Facebook page of your MD or your CEO, whatever, and putting out false information. So you need to be notified about that and you need to be able to take it down. And other personal data of yours, even of your family members, could be leaked. So there has to be some way that the identities of the senior management and their families are protected. And especially if their credentials are leaked, that's something you really want to know, that you need to be able to take care of. So that is another aspect of this whole thing. Then we come to the point of security scoring. So basically, you need to measure. Only if you can measure, you can manage. So how secure am I? So you have to have a benchmark. This whole business about you have to look at your attack surface, look at your cloud security, look at your patching, look at your identity, and then come to a kind of a score and say, okay, 7 on 10, 8 on 10, or 9 on 10, 4 on 10, whatever it is. So some number. It's just to give you an idea that, how secure you are and how much you need to move. And you can not only take your own score, you can even monitor it over time, see if my score is improving. So you can go to the management and say, okay, today my score is 5, and then I invested so much of money and it became 6 or 7. And so you're getting better over time. And you can compare it with your peers. So if you're an insurance company, you can compare with other insurance companies. If you're a manufacturing company, you can compare other manufacturing companies. So you know how you are doing compared to your peers. So the scoring is it's a fairly intricate algorithm. So basically, it looks at what is there on the dark web, what is there on the surface web, what are the patching levels in your company, are they using any old and obsolete versions. And another important thing is, if there is a particular risk which is notified, for how long is risk is open. So if a company, the same risk is there for two companies. One company addresses it in a week, one in a day, and one in 3 months. Obviously, the company that takes 3 months to address the issue is more vulnerable and less secure than somebody who addresses in a day or 2 days. And of the total number of issues that you have, how many issues are patched or how many are still open? So all these factors are considered, and you can come to a particular score, and the score gives two information. First information is how vulnerable you are, and the second information is how serious you are about remediating. So this score is a quantifiable measure of all these things. And the last part which I want to talk about is threat intel. So this is leveraging what is happening outside and trying to anticipate how it could impact you. So like I said, you can't protect what you don't know. So neither can you defend what you don't understand. So the first thing here is to understand the threat landscape. What are the TTPs happening? Who are the actors who are active? And you need to do this for your industry. So supposing you're in manufacturing, or you're into insurance, or you're into bank, or you're into business process outsourcing. So for your industry, for your geography, whether you're in India or China or wherever you are, or you're a global multinational company, and which sector you operate in. You're targeting and working in the government sector, private sector, whatever, small and medium enterprises. So attackers typically target a particular industry. So if somebody is in your industry has been attacked, then chances are that you could be next in the line. So you need to understand what is happening. The second thing, it has to be relevant, because there are so many hundreds, if not thousands of threat actors over there. And there's so many attacks and so many vulnerabilities and so many exposures. You need to match it up to what technology you're using and what is your footprint. So supposing there's a vulnerability in Oracle and you're not using Oracle, you're using SAP, then it may not be relevant to you. So we need to not only find out what are the issues and threats out there, but how relevant they are to your organization. Once you've done the mapping, then oh, this is a threat out there and it's relevant to me because I am using this technology, therefore I need to take action. And the action is, okay, there are early indicators of attack. There could be hashes, there could be IOCs, you could get all them and you could block them on your SIM or block them on your firewall, so that before they exploit it, you can protect yourself against them. And if there are new CVEs which are out there, some new threats which have come out and which are being actively exploited, then you need to be aware that, hey, this is a new CVE and there are hackers are actively exploiting it. And if it is relevant to my organization, if I'm using that technology, I need to patch or I need to protect against it. So this is what, the threat intel module gives you an idea about, what is happening outside. Are you ready for it? What part of your infra is vulnerable? Who's exploiting it? Which actors? And what are the indicators of compromise so that you can block them? So that basically, is what, when we are talking about security beyond the perimeter, that's basically what we are talking about. So if I have to do a quick run through, you need to look at your external attack surface. You need to find out the inventory. What do you have? Then you need to look at the attack surface, what needs to be exposed, what doesn't need to be exposed. Then once you remove the unnecessary exposures, we have to look at whatever is exposed, are there any vulnerabilities there? And then you need to do this continuously every day so that new exposures are trapped, are identified and taken care of. You need to look after public data leaks if your data is exposed. You need to look at dark web if any credentials are lost. You need to look at misuse of your brand. You need to do executive monitoring. And you need to look at brand misuse and threat intel. So all these things are things which are happening outside your perimeter, which you need to take care of. So the $1 million question is, okay, you know all this, you need to do all this. So how do you do it? So now let's come to the how part, that how we can help here. So as I mentioned earlier, we work with a company called Security Brigade, and the CEO of Security Brigade is here on the call, Mr. Yash Kadakia. He'll be happy to take some questions at the end if required. But it's a one-stop solution. So all the various things that I spoke to you about in the past 20-25 minutes. So attack surface management, data leaks, of public data leaks, threat intel, monitoring of the dark web, looking after your brand, looking after your vendors, giving you a security score, and all this is available to you in one platform called ShadowMap. And here it's going into a little bit deep dive, So in every part of it, so like if you're saying attack surface management, I will tell you what are the web applications that are out there exposed, what are the network services, what are the mobile apps, what are the cloud services using, SaaS services, any open ports, all this stuff. And similarly, for phishing, for brand protection, we look for domain squatting, and there's so many different things, So it's quite a lot of data which is out there. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, there's quite a lot of data out there, and all of this is covered in this particular platform which we are having. How does it work? Okay, this is pretty interesting. So it's a completely SaaS platform. You don't need to install anything on your premises. There is no hardware, no software. Don't have to open any ports. It's like an external inspector or auditor looking at your infra from outside. And what they do is every day this platform scans the complete. In fact, sometimes it scans even 2 or 3 times a day. And it scans all the IP addresses, S3 buckets, repositories, pastebin ports, everything, trying to find out if there is anything relevant for your organization. And if it is there, it gets all of it together, and using its algorithm, it classifies it, and it comes to your inventory. So this is the inventory part, What is the organization? Who are your subsidiaries? What are the domains? What are the subdomains? What are the IP addresses you're using? Third-party IP addresses? What are your cloud assets? So all this is captured in one particular. That's a starting point. This is what we start with. And then once you have got all this stuff, you get a full view about the visibility about your organization and what is your exposure to the internet. And now that you have that, this is the starting point. And remember, it's not a static starting point. It's changing every day. Since the scan is done every day, there are new assets coming and they're getting added. So of course, initially, when we start this process with your company, there has to be a little fine tuning involved because we might miss something, or we might misidentify something as belonging to you. It may not belong to you, or it may belong to a subsidiary and you want to exclude that from your scope. So all that has to be excluded. And then you come to the actual scope that needs protection. And then you can start the actual protection. So you can find out what are all the assets that are there and what are all the exposures that are there to all these assets. Then we go into the data leaks part of it. So you can find out where are the data being leaked, ports on the cloud, many leaked files, leaked APIs, credentials. The executive monitoring part I also spoke about. And then the vulnerability. So then what happens is we have identified all these vulnerabilities, these misconfigurations. We can rate these as per the CV score, and then we can map it to the affected assets in your organization. And then we'll tell you, hey, this is a problem, and this is affecting this particular asset of yours which is exposed, and this is a recommendation how to patch it. And we give you detailed steps. And all of this is covered in this particular platform in the vulnerability management part. In the dark web, like I said, we already covered that. We look at the various dark web forums. If somebody is attacking about your talking about your company, talking about attacking your company, if somebody is trying to buy credentials of your company, somebody's trying to sell credentials of your company, somebody's trying to sell data, buy data, all this chatter is happening here. So, if somebody is actually trying to discuss your company or its data or its operations or its credentials in the dark web, either buy, sell, threaten to attack, you need to know all this is happening. So this is one part of the monitoring which happens. And also, like, if any of your users' credentials are being sold on the dark web, that's something again which you need to know. If you're a bank, if your credit cards or information has been compromised, posted, all of this stuff has to be monitored and taken care of. And then we come to the ratings part of it. So like you said, we have to, this can be an organization-wide rating. It could be a rating for a particular subsidiary, rating for a particular location, for a particular pool of IP addresses, whatever. So you can rate the whole company, or you can rate the subsidiary or one part of it. You can rate and you can monitor the movement of the rating as per time and see what is the trend. Are you going up? Are you going down? And you can benchmark against your peers to see how well you're doing compared to the peers in your industry. So all of this is also a part of this particular shadow map platform which I spoke about. And now this is the value add which we do here. Now, as I've explained, there is a lot of ground covered here. There are so many different modules. If you just go here and see, there are so many modules: attack surface management, brand protection, dark web monitoring, public data leaks, threat intel, scoring, vendor risk. And there are new modules being added on all the time. So this volume of data can become overwhelming at times. So what we offer to you is we offer you a managed service where we will take care of this for you, right? So it can be done in two ways. It can be done dedicated, or it can be a shared, depending upon the size of your organization and the volume of data you are handling. We can take care of it for you. So we will have specialists from our side who will understand your business, and then they will know what is going on, what is important, what is not important, and then they will monitor the platform. And if they find something that needs attention, they will bring it to your attention. And if you have mapped the whole thing properly, say this department, this function, this is the SPOC, they can actually work with those people and they can make sure that the issues are getting addressed. And it will be a 24/7 monitoring process. And if any security incident happens, if any incident which is detected by the platform, like, for example, a fake mobile site or a fake mobile application or some particular vulnerability is there, they'll work with your team to make sure that it is addressed. If some kind of a takedown has to happen, if a fake website has to be taken down or a fake mobile app has to be taken down, they will do that also and help you out. And overall, go on, do a kind of a overall hand-holding of your security posture, and give you reports, give you a score, and give you a trend analysis. And we'll make sure that your security score, security posture, keeps improving. So this is a managed service. It's a completely optional thing. If some of our customers have got a large team of people who are doing this on their own, so that's fine. We'll give you the platform access and you can take it from there. Or if you want us to manage it for you, that's also a service which we do offer. And so, like I said, so the whole idea is that, if you work with us, your incident response time. See, because what happens when you do a VAPT may be happening once in 6 months. So in between the 6 months if there is something which comes up, we are able to find it quickly and we are able to let you know. So before it can be exploited, we can address it. And therefore, since it's outsourced, you obviously don't have to bother doing it only on your own. And your team can focus on your business specific issues and leave this part of it to us. So that's how this part of it works. And a few other things I want to tell you. This is a completely Make in India solution. So, you are supporting an Indian company, an Indian technology, and Indian founders. And so that's one thing. And the licensing also extremely simple. So even though there are so many different modules, we don't have any separate module-wise pricing. It's a flat pricing which covers all the modules. How it works is if you are interested, you come to us and we look at your company and we do an initial scan and we'll find out how many, IPs you are having, how much exposure you are having, and accordingly we'll put you into bucket small, medium, large, and we give you a price, and that price is valid for a year. So it's a simple license and it covers all the modules. So you get all of it in one shot. And because of that, it's pretty cost effective. So you don't have to pay anything extra for, okay, if you want dark web, you pay extra. And if you want brand monitoring, you pay extra. And if you want executive monitoring, you pay extra. There's no such extra add-on pricing. It's one price and you get everything. And and it's a fixed pricing for a year. And there's no extra pricing for the takedowns also. So there's two other things. Actually, there are many other companies, people who offer you this information on the dark web. They say, oh, your information is there on the dark web. But if you want to see actually what that information is, then you have to pay for it. So here there's no extra payment because we are buying this data in bulk. So you are able to go through it and see if whatever data belonging to your company, if it's there on the dark web, is it really valid? Is it really important? Or is it something that is old or outdated? And again, takedowns is no extra charge. If we find we set a very generous limit. So it's virtually unlimited in the sense that once you subscribe for a year, as many takedowns as you need typically will be given because we give a very generous allowance of takedowns in a particular year. So in other words, it's a 1 point payment and you pay this amount of money and you're taken care of for a year and you have an option of just taking the platform or taking platform plus managed services. And there are many success stories, so this is an international company which is using this from a long time, since almost like 7 years now. And it's got subsidiaries all over the world. And it uses this to give an overall view. And closer to home, we have ICICI Bank who have been on this platform for the last 3 years. And they are working. We have many other customers also. But they're under NDA. We at Noventiq also have sold to our customers and they are pretty happy with the platform. So that's what I wanted to share with you. So to summarize, like I said, you basically have a platform, a one-stop. To summarize what I basically said is that, it's good to secure your perimeter and secure your home and secure your company and your data center and your cloud. That's important. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. You need to look outside beyond the perimeter. And beyond the perimeter, you need to see what is the attack surface that you are exposed to. You need to check it on a daily basis. You need to check if your data has been leaked anywhere. You need to check if on the dark web there is any business going on about your company. You need to look at your brand if it's being misused. You need to look at your vendors and third parties. You need to look at threat intel if it is relevant to your organization. Look at your security rating, see if you can improve it. Compare it with your rating 1 month ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, or compare it with your peers. And all this in an automated platform that comes to you either as a standalone platform or as a managed service. So that's what I wanted to share. And like it's about 40 minutes into the session. So I think I'm more or less in time. So now I would like to throw it open if anybody has any questions. And yes, there's one more thing the last thing I want to tell you, if this thing sounds of interest to you, and if you'd like to, try it out, we are happy, you can contact us and we can work it out, how it can be done. We can offer you a scan. And the scan is completely non-intrusive. We will not install anything. We will not cause any downtime. We will not run any VA scanners or any port scan or anything like that. And you just let us know what your company name is, and we'll look at it from outside, what is visible, and we'll give you a report of the exposures that you have. So if you're not using any such platform, it'll be an eye opener for you. What are the things that of your company are exposed, or what are the possible issues you're exposed to? If you're already using a platform, which many people are, then you can compare our findings with what you are currently using. And if you find that, we are able to show, very often we find that customers are using product X or product Y, and they're finding that certain things have been missed by them, and we are able to highlight them. So then, it gives you a reason to consider this platform. So if you want to try, and this is a free of cost trial, there's no charge for it. and we can run a scan, and all we need is your company name, and it takes 2 or 3 days to run the scan and a couple of days to put together the report, and then we are happy to present it to you, so you can see and get an outsider's view that what does my company look like from outside, from a hacker's point of view. So that's all I wanted to speak about today. So thank you very much for a patient hearing, and I'll kind of open it up to questions, and maybe before that I'll invite Yash. Yash, are you there on the call? Chetan, can you unmute? Yeah. So Yash, if you want to